The turkey was perfectly golden, the cranberry sauce homemade, and the tension thick enough to cut with the silver carving knife my mother had laid out for the occasion. I sat quietly at my usual place at the Thanksgiving table, watching steam rise from the sweet potato casserole while my family tore my life choices apart. I'm Olivia Barrett, 32, investment banker turned venture capitalist, and according to my family, the disappointment who abandoned them for the corporate world. Did you hear about Christine's daughter? My mother asked, pointedly avoiding my gaze. She just had her third baby, staying home with the children, just like a mother should. My sister Amanda nodded approvingly, bouncing her own toddler on her knee. That's what family values look like. Not everyone puts money above their own blood. The dig was aimed at me, of course. Everything had been aimed at me since I'd announced my latest career move, launching my own investment firm instead of taking over the struggling family real estate business. Speaking of family businesses, my father cleared his throat. We need to discuss something important. He set down his fork, adopting the stern expression I remembered from childhood scoldings. The company's facing some temporary challenges. I took a slow sip of water, already knowing where this was heading. I'd seen the company's books last month, not because they'd shown me, but because I'd done my due diligence when they'd first pressured me to take over. The numbers weren't just bad. They were catastrophic. We need capital, Dad continued. Quick injection of funds to tide us over. Since you're doing so well with your... He waved his hand dismissively. Whatever it is you do with other people's money, we thought you might want to help preserve your inheritance. You mean bail out the company? I asked quietly. Don't say it like that, Mom snapped. This is family. We support each other. I set down my glass carefully. Have you considered selling some properties? Restructuring the debt? Sell? Dad's face reddened. These properties have been in our family for generations. We just need a loan. $3 million should cover it, just until things improve. The room went silent. Even Amanda stopped bouncing her baby. $3 million, I repeated. That's not a loan, Dad. That's a rescue package. And from what I've seen of the books, things aren't going to improve without major changes. Mom gasped. You looked at our books without permission? I had to. You've been pushing me to take over the company for months, but you never showed me the real numbers. Now I know why. How dare you? Dad's voice rose. Sneaking around, spying on your own family. It's called due diligence, I replied calmly. And the company's not just struggling, it's drowning. You've mortgaged everything, including this house, to keep it afloat. You're 3 months behind on payments to suppliers, and the bank's already talking about calling in their loans. Amanda jumped up, clutching her baby like my words might contaminate him. You've been investigating us. What kind of sister does that? The kind who doesn't want to throw good money after bad, I said. I'm happy to help, but it has to be done right. Professional restructuring, new management, maybe even. Enough. Dad slammed his fist on the table, making the crystal glasses jump. We don't need your corporate buzzwords or your conditions. We need loyalty. Loyalty doesn't pay bills, Dad. And $3 million won't fix what's broken in the company's structure. Mom started crying, her usual tactic when things didn't go her way. After everything we've done for you, the private schools, the college tuition, which I paid back, I reminded her. Every penny, with interest. Money, Amanda spat the word. That's all you care about. Not family, not tradition, just numbers in a bank account. I looked around the table, at the faces of people who'd shaped my childhood, who'd pressured me into business school because family legacy, but now resented my success because it didn't serve their purposes. The company can be saved, I said carefully. But not like this. Not by throwing money at old problems. You need to modernize, digitize, maybe sell some underperforming properties. Never SHOW, your face indeed his how you see again. Dad's roar made everyone jump. He stood up, face purple with rage, pointing at the door. Get out! You're no daughter of mine. Coming here with your fancy degree and your judgments, thinking you know better than 30 years of family tradition. Dad, please. Out. We don't need your help, or your money, or your conditions. And don't come crawling back when that corporate world spits you out. I stood slowly, gathering my coat and purse. Mom was sobbing dramatically. Amanda was shielding her baby's eyes like I was some kind of monster, and Dad was already pulling out his phone, probably calling the bank for another emergency loan they couldn't afford. Goodbye, then, I said softly. When you're ready to talk about real solutions, you know where to find me. When hell freezes over, Dad shouted after me. As I walked to my car, I could hear them through the dining room window, already rewriting the story, casting me as the ungrateful daughter who abandoned family in their time of need. What they didn't know was that I'd already seen the notice from the bank. Their main loan was being called in, and the house, the grand family home they'd mortgaged to keep the business afloat, was going to auction in January. I started my car, watching the warm lights of my childhood home glow against the November darkness. They'd chosen pride over practicality, emotion over economics. And in 2 months, they'd learned the hard way that family loyalty doesn't pay the mortgage. My phone buzzed. A text from my assistant. Meeting confirmed with First National Bank tomorrow. They're ready to discuss the Barrett portfolio. I smiled slightly as I pulled away from the curb. Sometimes the best revenge isn't showing people they're wrong, it's letting them find out for themselves. And I had a feeling January's bank auction was going to be very educational indeed. Because while they were screaming at me to get out of their house, I was already making plans to own it. The next 6 weeks passed in a blur of meetings, paperwork, and strategic planning. I watched from a distance as my family's financial house of cards began to collapse, each desperate move making their situation worse. Dad tried everything. Refinancing attempts, begging other relatives for loans, even putting Mom's jewelry up for collateral. But their credit was shot, and word had spread through our extended family about their refusal to accept my help. I sat in my corner office on the 47th floor, reviewing the latest report from my investigator. The family business wasn't just failing. It was a textbook case of mismanagement. Properties left to decay while Dad chased new acquisitions. Rent collections months behind. Staff jumping ship as checks started bouncing. My assistant, Maria, knocked softly. "Your sister's here." Again. I glanced at the security feed on my laptop. Amanda stood in the lobby, looking less polished than usual, clutching her designer handbag like a shield. Send her up. 5 minutes later, Amanda burst into my office, her facade of superiority cracking. "You have to help," she demanded without preamble. "The bank's foreclosing on everything. Dad's having heart problems from the stress." I kept my voice neutral. I offered help at Thanksgiving. The response was quite clear. That was different. Dad was proud, angry, but now, she slumped into a chair. "They're taking the house, Olivia. The company, everything." "I know." I turned my laptop to show her the foreclosure notices. First National is bundling all the Barrett properties for auction, including the house. Amanda's eyes widened. You've been watching this happen? Doing nothing? Not nothing. I've been preparing. Preparing for what? I pulled out a thick folder. The business can be saved. I have a complete restructuring plan, financing lined up, even potential partners ready to invest. But it would mean changes. Big ones. What kind of changes? Professional management, digital systems. Selling about 40% of the current portfolio to focus on core properties. And I met her eyes. Dad would have to step down. She recoiled. You want to take over? After walking away? I never walked away, Amanda. I got pushed out for suggesting exactly these changes 3 years ago. Remember? She did remember. I could see it in her face. The family dinner where I'd presented a modernization plan. Dad's rage. Mom's tears. Amanda's smirking support of their rejection. But that's not even the biggest problem now. I continued. The house goes to auction next week. Unless someone can come up with. I checked the papers, $2.7 million to clear the mortgage and liens. Amanda's face crumpled. We can't lose the house. Mom's devastated. My kids. Their rooms, their memories. There might be a way. I said carefully. But you won't like it. What way? I'd buy the house. Through my company. You all stay as tenants until the business situation is resolved. Tenants? She spat the word. In our own home. It's not your home anymore, Amanda. It's the bank's. Next week, it'll belong to whoever wins the auction. And you're just going to swoop in and buy it? Like some vulture? I leaned back, studying my sister. Same superior attitude. Same inability to face reality. No, I said finally. I'm going to offer a solution. One last time. Take this folder to Dad. Tell him to read it. Really read it. If he agrees to the restructuring plan, I'll buy the house and hold it in trust for the family. If not, then I'll still buy it, but as an investment property, and you'll all need to find somewhere else to live. She stood up, shaking. You're blackmailing us. No, I'm offering a business solution to a business problem. The fact that it's family doesn't change the economics. Dad will never agree. Never. I shrugged. Then I guess I'll see you at the auction. After she left, Maria brought in my afternoon coffee. Rough meeting? Predictable meeting, I corrected. They want help, but only on their terms. Still thinking they can dictate conditions from a position of bankruptcy. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. How dare you threaten to evict us? After everything we've done for you. I showed it to Maria. See? They're already rewriting the conversation. Want to bet how long before they're telling everyone I'm trying to steal their home. The auction's next Thursday, Maria noted. Should I clear your schedule? Yes, and call First National. Tell them Barrett Ventures will be submitting a bid. I turned to the window, watching the winter sun glint off neighboring skyscrapers. Sometimes you have to let people hit bottom before they'll look up. That evening, I drove past the family home. Christmas lights still hung crookedly from the eaves. Dad always insisted on putting them up himself, even though he had no eye for detail. Light glowed from the dining room windows, and I could see them gathered around the table, probably having another crisis meeting, plotting ways to save their pride while losing everything else. My phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. The bank manager. Ms. Barrett, there's been a development. Your father's here trying to arrange another emergency extension. He's not taking the rejection well. I could hear Dad's raised voice in the background, the familiar bluster turning desperate. Do you need me to come down there? No, security's handling it. But he's saying things about you, about your intentions regarding the auction. Let me guess, he's accusing me of orchestrating the whole thing. Among other things, should we be concerned about auction day? I thought about it. About Dad's temper, his pride, his inability to accept change or blame. Yes, I said finally. You should probably have extra security, just in case. Because sometimes the people who claim to love you most are the ones most likely to lash out when their control slips away. And next Thursday, my family was going to learn exactly how much control they'd lost. The auction room was packed, but not with the usual property investors. News of the Barrett family drama had spread through our social circle, drawing a crowd of familiar faces eager to witness our public unraveling. I sat in the back, flanked by my lawyers, watching my family huddle together in the front row. Dad looked like he'd aged a decade in 2 months. Mom clutched her rosary, and Amanda kept shooting desperate glances around the room. Lot 47, the auctioneer announced. The Barrett family estate, including main residence and adjacent properties. Opening bid at $2.7 million. The room hushed. That price would barely cover the outstanding mortgage and liens. 2.8, called out a voice I recognized. James Wilson, Dad's oldest business rival. Dad's shoulders stiffened. Wilson had been trying to buy our properties for years. $3 million, came another bid. 3.2, 3.5. I stayed silent, watching the numbers climb. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. Please, don't let them take our home. Up front, Mom was openly crying now. Dad's hands were clenched into fists. 4.2 million. Wilson called out, looking smug. The auctioneer scanned the room. 4.2 million. Going once. Dad stood up suddenly. This is a conspiracy, he shouted. My own daughter, working with our competitors to steal our legacy. Security moved closer as whispers rippled through the crowd. Sir, please sit down, the auctioneer warned. 4.2 million. Going twice. I stood up. $6 million. The room went dead silent. Mom stopped crying. Amanda's mouth fell open. Dad turned slowly to face me, his expression a mix of shock and fury. $6 million, the auctioneer repeated. Do I hear any other bids? Wilson shook his head slightly. No one else moved. Sold, to Barrett Ventures for $6 million. I walked to the front to sign the paperwork, feeling every eye in the room on me. As I passed my family, Dad grabbed my arm. You planned this, he hissed. Waited until we were desperate, then swooped in like a vulture. I met his gaze calmly. No, Dad, I offered help months ago. Years ago. You chose this path. Ms. Barrett? The auctioneer held out the papers. We need your signature. After signing, I turned to address my family. You have 2 choices. 1. Accept my original offer. Professional management of the business, restructuring under my terms, and you stay in the house while we rebuild. Or, Amanda whispered, or you have 30 days to vacate the property. You throw your own family into the street. Mom's voice rose dramatically. The same family that threw me out at Thanksgiving? I countered. The same family that's been calling me a vulture and conspirator? Yes, I would. Business is business. What happened to you? Dad asked softly. When did you become so cold? I learned from the best, Dad. All those lessons about tough decisions and business first. I was paying attention. I handed them a card with an address. My office. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Bring the company books. All of them this time. If you want to save anything from this wreck, that's your chance. And if we refuse, Dad challenged. Then I hear there are some nice apartments available across town. Much easier to manage than a big old house. As I walked out, Wilson stopped me. Impressive play, Olivia. Your father taught you well. No, I smiled slightly. I learned this on my own. He just taught me what not to do. The next morning, I arrived at my office early. Maria had coffee waiting. They're already here, she said. All of them, even Amanda's husband. I checked my reflection in the window. Power suit perfect, expression neutral. 5 years of corporate battles had taught me the importance of appearances. Send them in. They filed in silently. No accusations this time. No dramatic tears. Just a family finally facing reality. Dad placed a stack of folders on my desk. Everything's here. All the books, all the accounts, including the secret set you keep in your desk drawer. He flushed but added another folder to the pile. Good. Now we can begin. I spent the next hour outlining my plan. Professional management team. Digital systems. Strategic property sales. Dad would remain as chairman emeritus, a title with no power, but saving face in the community. The house will be held in a family trust, I concluded. No one can sell it or mortgage it again. Ever. You can live there as long as you follow the trust conditions. Which are? Amanda asked. Monthly family meetings, complete financial transparency, and mandatory business education for the next generation. No more running on ego and tradition. Mom touched Dad's arm gently. Robert, please. For the family. He stared at me for a long moment. This daughter he dismissed for so long. Finally, he nodded. Where do I sign? As they left my office 2 hours later, ownership papers signed and transition plan in place, Amanda hung back. Why? She asked simply. After everything we said, everything we did, why help us? I thought about the little girl who'd once watched Dad make deals around the dinner table, dreaming of being just like him. About the young woman who'd seen the flaws in his methods but couldn't make him listen. Because sometimes saving family means saving them from themselves, I replied. And sometimes the hardest lesson is learning that the person you pushed away is the only one who can pull you back up. She nodded slowly. The house. Will it ever really be ours again? No, I said honestly. But maybe that's good. Maybe we all needed to learn that home isn't about ownership. It's about respect, understanding, and sometimes tough love. That evening, I drove past the family house one last time. The Christmas lights were still crooked, but somehow they looked different now. Less like a symbol of Dad's stubborn pride, more like a reminder that imperfect things can still shine. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. Thank you. I was wrong. About everything. I smiled slightly. Sometimes the biggest returns don't show up on balance sheets. Sometimes they come in moments of truth, in broken pride rebuilt into wisdom, in families learning that love doesn't mean enabling, and strength doesn't mean never asking for help. Because while they'd once screamed at me to never show my face again, they'd finally learned to see me. Really see me. And sometimes, that's worth more than any property portfolio. The turkey was perfectly golden, the cranberry sauce homemade, and the tension thick enough to cut with the silver carving knife my mother had laid out for the occasion. I sat quietly at my usual place at the Thanksgiving table, watching steam rise from the sweet potato casserole while my family tore my life choices apart. I'm Olivia Barrett, 32, investment banker turned venture capitalist, and according to my family, the disappointment who abandoned them for the corporate world. Did you hear about Christine's daughter? My mother asked, pointedly avoiding my gaze. She just had her third baby.